Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to Mornings with Lawful, where authenticity lives and thrives to create a space of growth, healing, and joy. I am your host, Andrea Lawful Sanders, and each day we will cover the topics that are informative and engaging while learning from each other. Good morning to each and every one of you. It is 6:32. It's January 5th, 2026. It is 24 degrees and mostly cloudy outside. It is, oh, Lord. I have to tell you something. Yesterday was my birthday. For those of you who are on social media, thank you so much. I'm going to go on and tell you a little bit later when I have an opportunity what I ended up doing yesterday. But yesterday morning around 6:30, I had this feeling of dread about what was going on around the world, and I put up a post, and Cherry Gregg calls me. Now, she works at WHYY. We've been friends for a while. Her birthday is the day before mine. And she said to me, let me tell you something. You spend so much time helping and trying to get people where they need to be. It is your birthday. Enjoy your day and don't worry just for one day. Don't worry about what's going to happen to us. She said, the world is a dumpster fire right now. It's going to be a dumpster fire for a while. Enjoy your birthday. And that shifted. I took the post, I removed the post, and that shifted my day all day. And I'll share with you all of what I ended up doing yesterday, but it made it, and it culminated with my husband taking me to dinner at a great Italian restaurant about 40 minutes from our home. And we had a good time. No phone. I left the phone alone for most of the day. I responded to some of you when I was on my way back from my first adventure, which was 2 hours from my home. And when my husband and I had dinner, I had the phone away. I'm learning now to just put the phone down and not have conversations. Not necessary. That's not necessary. So I will be responding to a lot of you today. Just bear with me. I'll get there. But thank you so much for all the birthday greetings. It's another year, and here we are, right? I'm going to do my morning motivation. David is going to be on. And I'm going to play some soundtracks for you so to kind of set the stage for where we're going this morning. This was written in 2019. The older I get, the more I appreciate having dialogue with my parents. My siblings and I chat with them daily via group texting, which they love because we cut quam all day so they can keep up with us and their grandchildren. Today I called to do a 5-minute check-in. 30 minutes later, mommy spoke for two and daddy was still chatting. So I'm telling him that I was yet recovering from college tuition for my youngest child, and he laughed and said, education is expensive, but ignorance costs so much more. Before you were born, number one, ships used to bring petroleum to the island. We would fill tankers and have them driven to the western end. One day, a tanker overturned and gas spilled everywhere. People gathered around to see what was happening, and in the crowd was a man with an empty Bic lighter. He opened the contraption, filled it with the gas, put it back together, and then lit it for his cigarette. That one spark blew and burned up everyone that was there. Everyone. That one spark blew and burned up everyone that was there. It was awful, but ignorance that day caused human life that could have been prevented. Me, okay, I get your point. Gruesome, but okay. He says, you can't beat education and common sense, number one. Not everyone has it. My grandsons have made me proud, so pay whatever the cost, okay? And there ended that lesson for him. I was so, when he shared that with me, which is why I have this conversation with you every time I come on the air. Education is expensive. I take a risk. David and I take a risk. Every day we come on here and we have conversations with you, but ignorance is so much more expensive. And there's a lot going on around the world. Cherry reminded me that the first time I ever talked about all of this and what was coming was in 2015. And I was right on the money. My instincts are right on the money. And I'm constantly, researching and asking questions and trying to support and help as much as I can. I am going to play for you guys. And good morning. I see your conversations here. I'll get to you. It's I understand that there's too much happening around us. I understand that it feels as if there's way more going on than we can actually manage. But ignorance is far more expensive than making yourself aware and sitting still and saying, what can I do? How can I do? Because the answer to this is not sitting down and watching it happen and then go, there's nothing I can do about it. Right? So here we go. Let me play. And we are live. So
about just who is in charge in Venezuela. Donald Trump had said that the United States would be running Venezuela. He pointed to his cabinet secretaries, Marco Rubio and Pete Hegseth, and said they would be running it. But Marco Rubio went out on television this morning, Sunday morning, and seemed to downplay the notion that the United States would actually be running Venezuela. But Donald Trump tonight, Sunday night, flying from Florida back to Washington, was asked a very direct question by a reporter on Air Force One. Who is in charge right now in Venezuela? And he said, you shouldn't ask me that because my answer would be very controversial. The reporter said, what do you mean by that? And Donald Trump says, it means we are in charge. The United States, we are in charge. So clearly some mixed signals on that question. And then Donald Trump made some comments about Colombia and saying that Colombia is run by a very bad guy, makes a lot of cocaine and sends it to the United States. And he said he won't be doing that for very long. And reporter asked, does that mean there would be a U.S. operation to, effectively take out the president of Colombia? Asked, would there be a U.S. operation that would stop him from doing that? And Donald Trump said, that sounds good to me. He didn't elaborate about what he means by that, but clearly tonight, mixed signals about the degree of the U.S. involvement in actually running the country of Venezuela and whether or not there could be further military actions in the country of Colombia. Anyway, that's where we stand tonight, Sunday night.
So that was Sunday night. That was last night at like 9:30, somewhere around there. April Ryan, April Ryan, the reporter who used to be a reporter in the White House press pool, was the one that shared that video because there's a lot happening. I want to share with you all here because I am not sure that many of you are aware that Rubio was in Jamaica at least 3 times in 2025. The most recent time was December 10th. Did you hear what I said? December 10th. There was a conversation about going to Cuba. The Jamaicans are starting to ask a bunch of questions like, why isn't the prime minister saying, what the meeting was about, what these meetings are about, right? But they dropped the hint, Rubio dropped the hint and a few others, that Cuba is on their list to overtake, to get into their country to take it over. I cannot understate enough. I cannot overemphasize enough how important these conversations are, because as our country starts to invade other countries, it makes it difficult for us as United States citizens to travel around the world. Hear me when I say this to you. Be very mindful. I am asking you to stay stateside, because this is not just a conversation between the United States and what's happening in all these other countries. It's the United States, Russia, and China. Right? And so their backdoor deals, it feels like the world is being carved up by different superpowers. The question I have been asking is, where is Congress? According to the President of the United States, he did not let Congress know ahead of schedule, because remember, the laws of the land here says in order for him to go to war or to invade a country, Congress has to give him the approval, right? That they have to hear what's going on, give him the approval, et cetera, et cetera. None of that happened. He said he felt there was a quote unquote snitch in Congress, so he didn't want Congress to know what he was doing, where he was going. David did not show up. I don't know what happened. Wait, David. Wait, David. Wait. I don't see. Let him in. There you are.
Good
Uh,
morning.
Good morning, my darling. So I just played a thing. April Ryan put it on her page last night that now our United States government is talking about. The president is talking about invading Colombia, right? Like,
Yes.
and he's again using the trope that it's drug activity. I just spoke about Jamaica. Marco Rubio has been in Jamaica a few times, and the last time was December 10th, and the Jamaican people are like, what's happening there? There's talk of them invading Cuba. He alluded to that after Venezuela was invaded. And then there's one more thing I want to play, David, before we have a conversation
Mhm.
this morning, because there's a lot happening here. Um,
Anyway, that's where we stand tonight.
that's not what I want. Hold on, let me see.
There's a major new development in the story DC Report broke Monday about Wall Street banks needing cash from the Federal Reserve. Hi, David K. Johnston for DC Report. On Monday, Jim Henry and I reported that for more than 5 years, there were virtually no cash infusions by the New York Federal Reserve into the big banks on Wall Street. But then on Halloween, $51 billion. And roughly every 3 business days since then, a few $1 billion of cash infusions. Now, we don't know what banks are getting these, but we do know that the day after Christmas at 8 o'clock in the morning, there was a $17 billion cash infusion. Well, over the weekend, it turns out there was another. On Sunday evening, when banks are normally closed, $34 billion was infused into one or more Wall Street banks by the New York Fed. After that, the Chicago Mercantile Exchange tightened up the regulations on how much gold or silver you can buy in a speculative fashion. And by the way, the price of silver has become very volatile. As the Mercantile Exchange noted, it's hit as high as $84 on some exchanges since Christmas. And on as New Year's begins, it's fallen to about $72. So depending on which exchange, the price has dropped either 11 or 15%. All of this suggests there's problems with volatility, with banks being short of cash. Keep watching what DC Report has on this.
Okay. All right. Where do you want to start? Good morning, my darling. Happy New Year and all. I can see your face. David, there is so much to talk about.
Most and much. And I'd like to cast our minds back a year or more to
Fun
ago.
conversation.
Let us continue forward in 2026. But I
Yeah.
told y'all what to do because it was
Yes,
coming.
yes, you did.
So what I will say to you is that it is no coincidence how we go in and pluck out and raid and decide what it is that is ours for the taking and what is not. Venezuela has the world's largest oil deposits, the world's largest gold deposits, and some of the richest minerals that can be found on Earth outside of the continent of Africa.
Mhm.
Another interesting place which has fantastic mineral deposits, fantastic gold deposits, is a place that we bombed on Christmas Day,
Nigeria.
Nigeria. What is interesting about Nigeria and interesting about Venezuela is that Venezuela's treaties for protection exist with both Russia and China. And that in Nigeria, similarly, there was an African collection of countries around these minerals which decided to stop trading with the Western world and was beginning to create alliances with China and with Russia.
Right. So hold on, David. As you were speaking, I'm doing my research this morning. Turns
Yes,
out that the crude oil that is there is the one that China actually wants. So China had been there
not
talking
once,
to.
purchased.
Wait, yes, right. So it was reported that China was in Venezuela hours
Yes,
before talking to the president. No one spoke about that. And then the vice president was whisked over to Russia
she
so
was
that
removed
all of this,
immediately.
yes, right. So that all of this could happen. Then he was sent back to Venezuela. Our president is saying that, Marco Rubio and whoever is going to run Venezuela, there's all this conflicted conversation around that. So, according to what I am reading in the news, and I can't do the news reports here, CNN, etc., because they give you part of the story, right? So I'm using BBC World News to have a lot of this conversation, to do a lot of this research, and some other news resources outside of the country.
Mm.
China wants the crude because America is not they are accustomed to light crude, right? They don't want to really work on the heavy crude. This is what China needs, and the infrastructure in Venezuela is such that America would have to rebuild it, and they don't want to do any of that. There's a blue core, something a mineral that's there that they want access to, but truthfully, while we're doing all of this and having these side conversations, these things are going on. On top of that, last night in Burkina Faso, they tried to assassinate the president again. Tory, right? And the people rose up out of their homes and went to his palace and was like, no, we're not, you're not doing
Not.
that. Right? So all these things are happening. What are we, first of all, let me ask you this. What are your personal thoughts around this upheaval? There's conversation about Greenland again, right? And there are countries around the world who were saying they're not welcoming any Americans. They don't want us there. You can't come here. We don't, that blue passport is a problem, right? And then when you
So
go ahead.
I would say to you that you have to recognize that there are three dominant fractions of the world of world power, which are looking to imperialize the world yet again with a land grab. Um, we have the Eastern power, we have the Western power of Russia, and we have the United States grasping for power. What is not said quite openly is that the military force that we used to have, we don't have that same grasp anymore. That grasp of being the largest in the world is no longer true. China outnumbers the US by population in leaps and bounds. They have 2.3 billion people. We have 230 or 330 million citizens entirely. They have an army which is larger than the citizenry of the United States if they choose to draft people into their army. Um, we may have a larger collection of weaponry and or ships or things like that, but when you talk about sheer mass, we are no longer the largest army. We are no longer the world's bank, as you know, as we've talked about many times. I've been a person who's been very pro telling you to make sure you secured yourselves in precious metals because there will be a time there would be a time, and we are at that place where the banks will continue failing. I saw this and was warned about this a long time ago, and said to you, be sure that you're not just simply banked in a traditional standard. Don't
Yes.
want to make sure that you are
Yes.
at home in your
Yes.
ability to take care of yourselves, because we know that there's volatility in that market. We know that the stock market is an issue. So we get down to why do we choose and pluck the countries that we choose and pluck? We're looking at minerals and things which we can sustain and use to pluck up and support our own economy. Why do we want to have all the gold from Venezuela and all of the oil from Venezuela? Now we go under the false pretenses.
We're going to turn now to the dramatic images.
Sorry. Go ahead.
We go into the
We're going to
false
turn now to
emphasis
the
of
dramatic.
criminality. We say, oh, it's drugs. We know it's not drugs. And then we have a president who isn't so brilliant as presidents have been before. Other presidents were able to lie and stick on message and continue those lies. This president lies and then turns around and tells you he lied. So on national television, he told us, actually, this is about oil, and I want that oil. And I feel it was unfair that this is really Americans' oil and it belongs to American
But
companies.
actually, they don't want the oil.
This is what the president says. So what does that mean for citizens? Well, it means that there is no plan for you. I want you to hear that clearly. You are not planned for. In the rest of the world, a year ago and slightly more, pamphlets went around saying, here is how you prepare for war. Do you think that all of Europe sent pamphlets around saying, here's how you prepare for war, because they had no idea that war might be on the brink, that economies might be shifting and or collapsing, that border lines were a problem? Um, I don't know if you still have them, but I sent you clips from Xi Jinping that began 6 months ago and have run all the way up until to today. But Xi Jinping speaks to the military prowess of the
That's what I'm
Chinese.
looking for now. That was what I was looking for because you sent it to me and I'm trying to find it.
Yes,
Where he
it's in
talked
your
about the
text
61, the
messages.
one bomb that had 61.
They had the
Jesus.
ability to send 66 missiles and one ballistic bomb,
Mhm. A
which,
hydrogen bomb, which he
that's
says
right,
only China has the capability of pushing out, right? So here we
right,
go.
in 24 minutes. Yeah, 60 bombs,
Nope.
of which are 50
20,
states.
25 minutes anywhere around the world because I watched that thing 6 times and China posted that started posting that in October the first time I saw it, and when I
Um,
went back and looked they were like, listen, you do not want to play with us.
and
So
we
is
will
there an
not make the first
alliance?
shot, but we will
That's what he
finish
said. He
everyone
said
with the
yes.
second.
Yes, yes, yes. So, from what we've come to deduce over the last few years as we've been researching and talking, our
Mhm.
economy is in a perilous place.
Mhm.
The banks are not doing well, right? We've talked about what to do about your money. We're not repeating that here. You go ahead and do what you want to do because we've been saying this, right? Right, over and again. How to diversify what you're doing, how to make sure you have enough supplies for at least 72 hours in your home, maybe longer, because there's something afoot here. You feel the energy. They started on Christmas Day, bombing Nigeria, and by January 3rd, which was Cherry's birthday, she was like, "Girl, I turned off everything and was like, I'm going to enjoy my birthday." The world has shifted in a way that I think we can no longer ignore. On top of that, the affordable care subsidies stopped on December 31st. There are people now with no health insurance, right?
None.
And for those of us who have health insurance, we are seeing changes. Oh, now we're pushing you towards telemedicine health. The copays are getting higher. The
I,
doctors are getting higher. The doctors are
I,
getting out of the system, the health insurance system, and forging on their own and charging their own fees. They're like, we're not accepting any insurance. This is foolishness. So we're paying for the insurance and then have to go pay if we want to have great medical care. They're pushing us towards telehealth because to get an appointment takes months. People are dying as a direct result of not being seen. Then you talk about a tumultuous economy, which is why I keep saying to folks, read the room. Read the room and understand that this is not life as usual, but we're being fed by these diggity dang things, which by the way work when they want to now. So something is happening here, right? Sometimes you can get through, sometimes you can't get through. And my friend went to the phone company and the guy was like, the amount of people that have been coming in here saying that their phones aren't working. Something is going on in our communication system that we're still not quite aware of yet.
there was a 5G upgrade to a system. 5G is a very powerful upgrade and perhaps very dangerous as well. We're not really talking about the effects of 5G as a global truth, but that is causing disruption for all machinery that is created to work off of 4G. So if your internet, if your phone, if your televisions are used to working off of 4G signal while they put in the 5G, this is disrupting services and causing lots of problems.
Mhm. There is talk that the Marudo found himself in trouble because he did not want to sell the oil in US dollar currency. And every time a leader in the country do something like that, because then that weakens the American dollar, right? Again,
Mhm.
it's history. On this platform, we have asked you to not just regurgitate what you see and hear. We
Research.
ask you to go do the research and find out the history of each country. Because now I hear everybody go, oh, it's the oil, it's the oil, it's the oil. Y'all, that's too easy. It's too easy. This man decided that they were going to sell, what I'm looking at this face. Gaddafi was one of the people
Mhm.
that decided they were not going to
Muammar
use.
Gaddafi, and can we talk about him for just a second? This is a person who had taken his citizens from abject poverty to really doing extraordinarily well. If you wanted to get medical attention anywhere around the world, if you couldn't afford it there, they would fly you to any hospital in the world to do that. They would educate you in any place in the world. When they sold the oil and the gold there from Libya, you as a citizen got a check for your portion of what was sold by the government. These people were doing so very well that we took them out.
Right.
The
And we
reason why
labeled them as
Gaddafi was
terrorists and all the things, right? And so,
suddenly he became a
if,
terrorist and problem.
and if you don't know the history, then you're doomed to repeat it. So now we're sitting here repeating all of what I've seen it over and over and over again. Then there are folks who are quietly being pushed out of their homes, right?
Hmm.
They can't pay their mortgages, they can't pay whatever. No, there's no real upswing, no real push to say, this is what's going on. I need us to open our mouths. Our electric and gas bill for this month of January is $1,000. It used to be under $400. Do you see where I'm going with this? Everything has doubled and tripled. So in our house, we've been preparing now, and I hear I hear folks talk about buying houses and getting cars. This is not the time, y'all. It is just
I
what is
I
upon
could
us, David.
I could tell you from the price points. I went to have my eyes examined, and my insurance used to cover that as a part of my once a year annual eye checkup. I said to them, "What is this $140 copay? Am I uninsured?" They said, "Oh no, you're still insured, but this is your new copay."
Yep.
And I have good insurance. I can imagine what would happen if I did not have good insurance and if I was uninsured, right? What hundreds of dollars would I pay for a
Mhm,
simple checkup to determine
mhm.
if I could or could not see?
Right.
So we all are experiencing and feeling the differences that are coming. What I think that we are eyes wide shut to is how ugly it's going to get.
That part.
It's going to get much more
That
ugly.
part.
And the
That
question that
part.
we have for our local governances, for our federal government, and even the federal government is, I guess, a lost cause because we are no longer asking permission of the Senate or Congress to approve law. I want us to hear that. Donald Trump got on television and said to us, I did not go to Congress. I did not seek permission because I
Mhm.
felt that their mouths were too big
Yes, that there was a leak within Congress, so I
and that
didn't
it would
talk
get
about it.
out.
But
And
where is the
that
outrage?
means,
Let me ask you this though, David. Where's the outrage?
well, and this is the part I don't think that we even understand that we're supposed to be outraged about that. That is a shift from a president to a dictator. I want you to hear that we've made that shift and that nothing has stopped that. No, no, the Congress has not come out and said illegal. No one has. I mean, we hear very
Bits and pieces of
fractional
different
people
people,
who
but
are disgruntled
unilaterally.
slightly. That that no, as I think Nancy Pelosi, we don't sanction for this. We sanction for writing the wrong name on a piece of paper. This is different. When the president of the United States unilaterally takes powers he does not have and executes them in the middle of the night and just goes and creates an act of war. This is not a police act. That is an act of war. That is something which is defendable. If someone were to do this to an ally of ours, we would have the right to defend the ally. I want us to understand that we have given Russia and China the right to defend Venezuela. I need us to be sober in that truth, that this is an act of war. And it's one that we have committed without any sign off from the Congress that has been duly elected to make sure that these decisions are done properly, but also with the best interests of the United States of America at mind, not necessarily interests of the President of the United States of America.
Right.
This is a very different conversation that I think we're having today, and one that we need to be aware of as we begin to look at what is actually happening in America. We have shifted, ladies and gentlemen, from a democracy to a dictatorship in a period of 3 days. That test has been completed and
And
nothing has
passed,
been
right? It was
lost.
passed because no
It
one,
has.
no one. I expected to hear something from Congress in a unilateral way, that the whole there's some kind of message from them around this, that this can't say it happened, and because it happened and there was really nothing shifting and changing as a direct result, at least that the American people could see, that now we're talking about Colombia and we're talking about Cuba and we're talking about Greenland, and there is going to be more. Um, yes, Alexandra. I saw that. She says April Ryan reported that Hakeem Jeffries called an emergency meeting of the members of Congress. Didn't hear any more about it. Right?
Oh,
Either the news, because one of the things I was told from straight out of Congress's building was that they're doing things, but the news isn't reporting it. But the news is coming out and saying, CBS came out and says new profile, same trusted news source. But we don't see many of the things that we should be seeing. We don't see. We
because
see
the
one side.
administration the administration began to challenge the news reporting and sue the companies for billions and billions of dollars. And the courts were awarding billions and billions of dollars to the Trump
Mm,
administration for
mm,
the news reporting. So therefore, the news has stopped reporting the news. Um, there are two bills that are interesting that are now being put forward. One is to draft women into the Army. Um, why would we need to have a bill that would give permission to draft women if we didn't expect to need to use such a bill? We another bill that would make people who speak out against the Trump administration national security threats, people who disagree with the dear leader and fearless leader of our nation, that they would become criminals. So when we look at what is happening here in the United States of America, yes, I want us to pay attention to the fact that we are actively at war because we have committed an act of war, and
mm,
we are in violation of international law, and that the United Nations is very clear on that about what that means. That we have opened up the floodlight. It would be perfectly legal for our president to be plucked out of the White House and tried for criminality anywhere in the international courts. Now, will that happen? Of course, probably not. But it would be legal now because we have committed this atrocity and act of war quite boldly in the public face. And this isn't something that we did in a sneaky way like we have often done before, gone into places and plucked people out and said, no, this is something which is bold. Now, people say, oh, but the people of Venezuela are so happy. I want you to know that what you're
that is
watching in news
also not
reports,
true.
I want you to see what you're having news reports is not happening in Venezuela, it's happening in Florida. It's happening in countries where Venezuelans who have left Venezuela are.
Mhm,
It's happening in
mhm,
the United States. It's happening in other places where you have these fractions of Venezuelan people who are against
mhm.
whatever else. I am not trying to say that the president of Venezuela was in any way, shape, or form a kind man.
Right.
I am saying that Venezuela is a sovereign nation, and that there are rules about how sovereign nations guide themselves,
Mhm,
and that we as Americans do not get to dictate how another government performs. That is simply not the prerogative and or the right of the United States of America to dictate how the world um, moves and how they govern themselves. So we are in a really ugly situation that I think we need to be aware of. But
mhm.
more than just this situation of what we're doing internationally in other people's countries, we need to understand that the government that we believe that we had, this
No longer
republic, if we
exists.
could keep it, we have not kept.
Mhm,
We have not kept.
mhm.
And this republic has become a dictatorship overnight. And we saw the writing on the wall, and we
But
saw the
David, why did it
warnings.
take so many people to hear this when they saw all the shift and changes? And here's the other thing: people are so concerned, rightfully so, about how their lives are being upended, how they can't pay their bills, they can't get jobs, and when they get jobs, it's like one third or half of what they used to make, so they can't sustain the lifestyle that they have. That they can't even focus on what's going on around the world, right? There's a lot of doom scrolling happening. Our children, adults, our age group, we're like, oh my God, the whole world is going to end. You know, we're feeling this thing that's upon us that we can't truly fully name, and how it's going to impact us, because we've always been told this is the most powerful country on earth, blah, 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 blah. The banks are being infused with billions of dollars. They're losing money. Banks are closing. We've been watching banks close and we're like, well, it's not my bank, so I'm okay. We're so singularly focused that we just don't see the bigger picture, and we're not reading the room. What do we do?
We don't. We are at a place now where we don't, because the time to collect one's nest and to make plans and to do those things we gave you 2 years ago. And if you haven't taken heed to those warnings and you haven't done the things to secure yourself, you have very little time so to do now. We are already at a place where Americans are being told we don't want you here. We're
Mhm,
already coming to a world where it's
mhm,
unacceptable to exist in the way that we thought it would be. We are shifting greatly.
mhm.
Greatly, we are shifting.
We
And so,
are.
what I would say to many people is we are at war.
Let's shift to Joseph Simmons says New York City Mayor Mandami says that he will charge Bibi Netanyahu with war crimes if he steps foot into New York City, real or rhetoric. Now, let's you and I have this conversation.
Well,
He
I want to
has.
say that this is not the first time that New York has said this. And in fact, the previous mayor, Mayor Adams, allowed Benjamin Netanyahu into the city at the behest of the President of the United States during the United Nations General Assembly. I was there. And the United Nations was so angry that they got up and left. So Benjamin Netanyahu spoke to an empty room as people refused to hear from him. But international law said that if he stepped foot on the territory of the United Nations, that he would be arrested, and that was upheld until Donald Trump insisted that the mayor protect that order, and so he was. So I think what Mandami is doing is putting his foot down again to say, I am not Eric Adams, and I will allow the United Nations to do that job, and I myself will do that job. If you step
Mhm.
foot in New York, I will arrest you. I don't think Benjamin Netanyahu is coming to New York.
Yeah.
So is that toothless? Sure, because I don't think he's
Right.
coming.
Right.
I don't think the United Nations is going to ask him to be back again.
Mhm.
I don't think he'd be welcome back again. I want to say that Benjamin Netanyahu and Donald Trump are very similar. Their war crimes are stacking up as the same. So it may be a place in which we've come to a time where Donald
Mhm.
Trump is told if he steps on the floor of the United Nations that he will be arrested for war crimes. What
Wait.
what teeth are in those orders? I do not know.
So hold on. Uh, Another news person said to me recently, because we've been following all of this, that Netanyahu, the people in Israel were turning against him. They were, wanting him to be tried for war crimes, etc. And then all of a sudden, Hamas attacked Israel. And this person said to me, I want you to think this through. This person said, I've been to Israel. It is not, they have all sorts of, they have the dome, they have all these other things. You can't just walk in and
Yeah.
attack,
How were they
right?
attacked? Right.
Right. And so the conversation quietly has been he allowed this to happen so that it would be war, so that he has another 3 years. It's been now 3 years, right, of all of this stuff going on. They're seeing something similar happening here in the United States. But I'm going back to Mandami for a little bit. He has been vociferous in his conversation about Palestine, Palestinians, about Israel, etc. I get now why the Jewish folks there were like having a bird. How safe is he? Think Charlie Kirk. Think how safe is
Absolutely.
he as the
Well,
mayor of New York City?
the question is Donald Trump becoming so fanatical that the international community makes Mandami safe? So is he positioning himself and operating in a way where he would be the Manchurian candidate, if you will, for president of the United States? Is he showing in a force and operating in a city which is large enough and doing big things which are matterful to the
Mm-hmm.
international community
Mm-hmm.
that they would keep him safe? Right.
Mm-hmm.
I always think that the target is on the back of the person who's at the front of the room. It is also a harder target to execute if you don't want people to know that you've done so. So
Mm-hmm.
I think people can be very upset with him and say, we have to take him out. But if he is at the helm, which he is, taking him out would only prove that you've taken him out. Does that stop the mission or does that fuel it? And that's always the political conversation, the weight at the table. What has actually happened? As a cultural strategist, I think often about how nations speak through political action to their people and what rallies they actually bubble up. So sometimes what we think we've done to remove an issue has only created a bigger one.
Everyone.
Killing Martin Luther King really, by leaps and bounds, opened the floodgates for what he wanted to happen in America to make sure that it did. Had
Mm-hmm.
Martin Luther King remained alive, I don't know that civil rights would have gone as it did because
When
he
they
was
took him
murdered
out.
and people were angry. John Kennedy saying when they took out John Kennedy, the things that John Kennedy wanted to be done accelerated, all but the stopping of relationships with Israel, because that's another part of the reason which has been released. We could talk about that, that his idea of cutting off ties with Israel resulted in his murder. We know very much now that he was murdered by the driver of his car. We
Mm-hmm.
have video footage of the driver who turns around and shoots him point blank in the face. We now understand that the bullet which hit him from the side did not hit him from the side, it hit him here, which is why his cranium blew off, why Jackie Kennedy was holding his head together. And she spoke about that and then was told be silenced. And so she protested what she saw by wearing his blood on the dress that she had on and keeping it on for the rest of the day, including through the swearing in of the next president. I want us to understand that this is a nation which has always committed atrocities and always been a bully in many places, and that this is not new. So when
So
we ask,
what does the average citizen, because Joanne Kemp says this, hold on, let me read this to you. He said, it's the writing on the wall written in invisible ink. People I encounter are walking around in denial, going on with their lives, seemingly with no concern. What is the
they are
average
distracted.
citizen, what are they aware of when they see all
They're
of this
aware of
happening?
the Epstein files. They're aware of their anger at the price of eggs. They're aware of the racism and the rhetoric that they've been told and taught to believe for all of their lives, that everything is the fault of people who do not look like them. They're aware of a lack of education, and they feel that they have a right to become a billionaire. And so they seek the light of people who are rich and who they perceive to have power. And they look for that in the candy shop. They are told nothing about the realities of politics or geopolitics. It'd be very hard to have a national sentiment which is grand if you knew the truth of what your own nation could do. It'd be very hard to believe in the life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness that we guarantee everyone and also want to put out everyone who's ever come here. It would be hard to believe that you were in a powerful and great place that was spreading democracy as the beacon of light around every corner of the world, knowing that we were stealing presidents and their oil, their gold, their minerals, and their resources to enrich ourselves. That would all be hard to do. So the average American is not educated to listen to that. The average American is, quite frankly, educated not to understand any of this. Books are removed from schools. Teachers are
They
stopped
started that,
from
yes.
teaching. People are asked not to have, we have a thing called a patriotic history, which is to specifically not teach people how to be aware. When we had platforms like TikTok, where people were able to spread information internationally without government interference, the government purchased TikTok. When we had Instagram at one point, which had this open policy of what you could say and could not say, suddenly they shut the policy down, and anything that you said, which was anti-Israel, got you blocked and or banned. And when they realized that that was a problem for free speech and for our constitutional rights, they then decided to shadow ban people so that their messages would only go out to 100 or 50 people
Yes.
or
Mhm.
200 people at the most, but they would no longer be received by thousands, they would be blocked.
Mhm.
I want us to understand that these are not accidents. I want us to know where we live in this place and space. And I want us to say to ourselves, what have we done to prepare for the next steps? If you're wondering what are the next steps, please understand Nazi Germany. Please understand world domination and the seeking of power. We have a man right now who is just as power hungry as Hitler was. He's starting on this side of the world instead of the other this time. Do you think he will stop? No. When
Yeah.
will other nations get involved? They won't until it affects them.
Right. A nation in Europe, and I meant to copy the link and save it, just sent out leaflets to their entire nation again saying, this world is volatile. We need you to prepare for war. Right. And so the leaflets are all around the country.
It's
And they're
usually
telling
the
them,
Nordic nations, so I wouldn't be surprised if it was Sweden or Denmark or
yeah,
Norway or one of those
I can't
places.
remember
They're
which one,
usually
so I'm not going to repeat what I don't know for sure, but I did see it. And they were like, make sure you have enough water, make sure you have a space in your house where you can hunker down, make sure you're able to survive. One of the things they put on the leaflets was make sure you're able to survive for at least 72 hours without electricity, without water, without any forms of communication. When
3 weeks of food. 3 weeks of food.
And if you have no water and no electricity, what are you using to cook? Because most people are like, well, we can turn on the stove, well, we can turn on the microwave, we can just think. I need us, but we're not there. Our brains are not there, and
I
so
need us to do that. I need us
like
to buy
Cherry Gate
cans
says,
of
don't
prepared
don't
soup.
panic. Yes, yes, right. Don't panic. Prepare. Don't panic. Plan. And I don't think that we're there. We're there.
Two
And
cans, 2 cans of soup per day.
yeah.
If you're watching, write it down. 2 cans of soup per day. 3 weeks of provision. There is water in that can of soup. So when people say you need enough water, yes, you
Yeah.
do. But to
Yeah.
survive, you don't need 3 weeks worth of gallons of water. You
No.
need items that have water
What
in
are in
them.
it? Mm-hmm.
You need to
Mm-hmm.
buy Cheerios.
Mm-hmm.
You need to buy things which are shelf stable. things that can last for years without any effect. Going out and buying yourself frozen vegetables is not the answer. Anything in your refrigerator or freezer will die.
Spoil. Absolutely.
Do you need
Absolutely.
sterno? Sure. Sterno is really great for being able to create a fire, for warmth, for other
Mhm.
sorts of reasons. But for cooking, skip that. Get cans
Mhm.
of things that you can
Mhm.
eat from the can cold.
Mhm. Mhm. That's already good. Might not be delicious, but it's sustaining your health, right?
That beef
Uh,
stew, whatever you like, that progresso.
yeah.
But
Um,
but these are the things that we've discussed before that we won't go into detail about. But that's a part of it, right? That's a part of where we are in this place and space.
Joseph says, mass distraction is the master plan. David is 100% correct. The black folks that know the truth must educate the ignorant about what's going on. Can we tell Joseph that we've been having this conversation?
Well, and not just that, Joseph, but I think also we're at a place where I want you to also know this world, right? And Joseph, you probably know this already, but most of the world's populations are declining as of 2025 census reportings. The only portion of the world which is growing exponentially is the continent of Africa. And the continent of Africa has decided across it, the many countries that are in it, that they are going to participate within an African Union and pool together their resources, monies, and trades and be able to decide for themselves as a sovereign continent how it will interact with the rest of the world. This is why we see unrest. This is why we see now some of the Middle East going, oh, are we a part of this or not a part of this? We're not a part of this. We're making other deals, but maybe they'll be a part of it. The richest continent in landmass, soil, wealth, minerals, oil, all of that as a continent is Africa. And what Africa realized, which we shared with you biochemically, less biochemically, sorry, biologically, is that the original genotype that is in human beings, we talked about this AB structure,
Comes
right,
from
is
African woman.
required. African women carry this. And if you want to continue any civilization, at some point you have to breed again with the original GNA strand. Otherwise, the strand becomes too close. They become cousins, 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 that the cousins are too quick and the blood spoils, and therefore it becomes extinct. So, over a period of 1,000 or 2,000 years of inbreeding, you can create quite a problem and quite an issue for cultures to continue. That science has now been made public and real, and many cultures around the world have a culture shock to that and have realized that deleting Black people from the earth would delete themselves with them
Mm-hmm.
because they could not procreate themselves. They couldn't recreate Caucasian people. They could only strengthen the Caucasian genes that are there to a point of terminality.
Mm-hmm.
But if you were to breed the Caucasian genes with an African gene every so now and again, you would strengthen the Caucasian gene. So I need us to hear that Africa as a continent was aware of what was going on, and we recall they said to us, "Come home.
Mm-hmm.
Our border is open to you. Come get a place here." And we said to them, "No, thank you. We're not interested in milk crates." And
Mm-hmm.
now they're saying to us, "I don't know if you're going to exist."
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And there are
geopolitical.
Americans. One of the other things that I've said to Americans, if you're going to go to another country, learn the norms of the country. One woman went to Ghana, moved to Ghana. I can't. What did she say? I can't Uber Eats my food to my, like, they're just not accustomed to, living life a little differently. And the food is so fresh and clean and good. She's missing the salt and the derivatives and the bad food that she's always been accustomed to eating. She said, I want to come back home to America. Right? So we don't even think through how are we going to navigate what is happening in front of us. Stick a pin. Stick a pin. Just hold that thought right there. Did you remember in 2023, 24, 25, a lot of the high investors have been putting their monies? Bezos pulled out $100 million. Folks were pulling out $2 billion out of the stock market, and it's wavering, but we don't see it. They've taken their money and they're doing something else with it. We also saw right around that time people began talking about, people building underground bunkers. The earth is becoming too damn hot. San Diego is flooding. San Diego, which is one of the, it barely rains. The weather is always good. Cars are floating. Our ozone layer has thinned so much. We're literally killing the place where we live. I don't know what's going to happen to us.
And just as a side note, which we can take this or leave this as the way we like to hear it or perceive it, but the person in charge of military affairs in Israel, who retired, who is now 85 or 87 years old, whatever he is, came out and said that we have been in conversations with extraterrestrials for many years who do not want us to release their acknowledgement. And this is why Donald Trump started a space fleet the last time he was in the office. Now, I thought that was very interesting. And I'll leave that there. But I was reminded by a friend when I was giggling about this idea that there were four-star generals who were flying a jet in America who saw an object which came before them, stopped, and then reversed and went the opposite direction. They all came out of the sky and quit that day. They were on our news. I had to go back and rewatch that.
Yeah, but they've known this for decades and decades and decades. And there's still people on this earth who believe we're the only ones that exist. That we're the only ones
I
that
think it's
exist.
interesting. All of this at a time when the man says, oh, they're ready to now say, we've had enough.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
So all is well. Is it?
Yeah.
All is well. I don't know. Here's what I do know is this: um, the day in which you woke up and walked outside and thought it's just Monday
Child.
is gone. It's gone. Today is Monday, and whatever you believe, know that you are at war. Know that the world is not the place that you thought it was in its safety before, and know that now is the time, the last time, for you to really do something about how you're going to prepare you. I, I can't give you new information about how to prepare yourself for things that are inevitable. I can tell you from a European standpoint, I received those pamphlets when I was in Sweden. I know all about what that says. I have shared with you a year and a half ago how to prepare yourself for a moment such as this. I told you January would be when we would have an upheaval, and I told you by the summer you would be in a place which was unrecognizable to you.
Yeah.
Well, we're in January and we have an upheaval, and we got through the end of December when I told you those markets and those issues of that gold was going to be a problem, and we have this issue of those markets and those golds. And I am telling you that by the time we get to the summer, we're going to have a bit of a shit show. So do with that what you will.
Right. And Joseph, you're absolutely right. He says planet Earth is but a literal speck of dust. And we're sitting down here acting like we're the biggest part of the universe. We're a speck of dust. There are other life forms that are around us. They're watching us. They understand that we are living on borrowed time on this planet, right? It'll be one of those planets that are extinct after a while. I hear young folks talking about they're just going to live their lives and they don't want any children. I watched a documentary about this doctor, a country doctor, who was talking about the hospitals being gutted and closed in the rural areas. Big companies come from California, whatever. They come in, get the Medicare money, and then they shut the hospitals down again, and folks are literally dying. When you look at the people, David, in this country, which is why I've said to you all, you go ahead and take a trip across this country. We've done it 5 times. We've seen abject poverty in ways that has never been reported, ever with our real eyes. People living in homes that are tearing apart at the seams. There's no roof on top in these United States of America. Go to Philadelphia, Mississippi. I have seen it with my eyes.
White
Right?
people living with that issue.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. And that's the
Clear.
part that was so
We're okay with
surprising.
it when it's non-white people. We are talking about white people across the nation who are living at the brink of disparity.
Which is why they're so angry and thinking that people of color are taking all because they're being fed this information that
They're being
people of
told
color are
that
gaining
lie.
too much. Right. I've had conversations with teachers who were like, we want our middle class back. Now they're all looking at me going, well, hell, we're all being impacted. We were being pitted against each other, but we're all being impacted by this thing. What is getting ready to happen to us? Where is your plan? Where is your tribe? Where are the 2 or 3 people that we told you to make sure know where you can? Do you know how to get from point A to point B without using a GPS? Are you able to we have asked you this.
When I go back into my cultural strategist hat and I speak to people about pitting against one another people, the game of pitting always ends the same way. The people who've been pitted against each other one day recognize that has happened and they join forces. And woe betide what happens to the person who pit them against each other. Every time you pit people against one another, at the end of the day, the way the game always ends, it's never changed, is that those people will discover that they're both living in the same hell. And when they decide they're both living in the same hell, they look to the person who put them in it and they come for them. And Americans are getting ready to experience the same hell across the board. The time at which people's health insurance kept them feeling as though they were superior, people's ability to have finances made them feel superior, people's ability to live here or there made them feel superior is over. And when everybody realizes that they were living in the same hell, the same boat called Titanic, which is sinking, they will come together against Bruce Ismay. Well, who is our Bruce Ismay? And who has pitted people against one another now? We have a class of people which is very small, which has made sure that your life is a living hell. Now, we've been told by Elon Musk that we're going to
He
experience
sure
some rough
did.
times,
He certainly did. And more
that we would
than,
no longer
go ahead.
we'd no longer have an income. We would be on a universal income because there'd be no ways to
Yes.
sustain Americans otherwise, right?
That we'll
These
be
are
all
things that
out of
people
our
just
homes,
don't.
that we'll all be in apartments, that the universal income is what we're all going to make a certain amount of money. But we're sitting now going, what are they talking about? I'm worth this amount
What
of
are they
money. Yeah, we can
saying?
travel on. Yeah,
How
yeah.
could that be?
How could that be? Universal income. This is not such and such and such and such, but here we are. Everything they have said to us. If you go read, I began talking about Project 2025 in 2019. Nobody listen. What the hell is she talking about? I
Oh,
began
we're
talking
always
about how
crazy.
men were being conditioned to believe that we women were taking over everything and that we need to be taught a lesson. I remember a sister in Atlanta was like, "You are just spreading rumor and conjecture." I was like, "Sis, I'm not going to have this argument with you in front of hundreds of people, but what I need you to know is when this stuff comes to fruition, when it happens, you're going to remember that we had this
I'm telling you.
conversation."
I'm gonna do better. I'm gonna call you out.
Right?
I will say that we're so used to being called crazy, y'all, until it happens. I mean, and there's such a track record. There's such a wonderful track record of, well, that happened.
Yeah.
Um, I take no joy out of watching people suffer. I think it's awful,
Me
and
either.
so
And I
I've
can't
always felt
sleep.
that when you no, so I always say when you know that something's going to happen that's going to cause someone pain, you tell them,
Mhm.
and you help them through it. Even the people that you really think are
Mhm.
awful people, you still help them to survive the flood.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, that's called humanity. But when it comes to where we are today, the warning and the writing is not only on the wall, but it's something which is so obvious to those people who are students of history, that this is an issue which is bigger than we can imagine. So have those conversations with your loved ones about what it is that you will do, what emergency plans you'll put in place, because when there's no plan provided by somebody else, you better be the plan.
Mhm.
Figure out how you're going to get those cans in your house so that if the electric goes off for a few days, a month, a week, a year, and we don't have to be so odd about this. There are people who took vacations for New Year's who can't leave their vacation for at
Baby,
least until Friday because they
baby,
can't get on a plane to go home.
baby. Across
Imagine if
the
yourself.
entire Caribbean. And I kept saying, because this I was planning, I was like, maybe I should go. Because I hadn't been on the plane. I was like, I'm not getting on a plane. I said, maybe I should go such and such and such. That's one of the places where the airspace was cut off. And I would have been talking to y'all from my phone going, I'm sorry, I can't. I had to follow my gut
It's
instinct.
so funny you said this. As all this was going on, I posted a video about Queen Mary, and some girls were like, "Oh, this is out of touch. They don't understand." And then one friend said to me, "Oh, I see you. I know exactly what you're doing. You're telling us to get to the boat because the boat is safe in international territory." I said, "Bingo! I'm
Mm-hmm.
telling you that the cruise ship is the safest place that you can be in times of war because the cruise ship sails an international flags on its
Yeah.
own and can go to a
Yeah.
safe port." So I
Oh,
didn't drop that little video on that day because I was unaware that I was
yeah,
saying something. I'm
right.
saying something. Go and watch the video. I'm saying
Oh,
something.
yeah.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
and
You know,
the true journalists that we've had are all quitting en masse. The guys from Pentagon who had been generals for God, they're quitting, right? They're like, I don't want no parts of this when they're being briefed, but they're being told because that's why we have Pete Hegseth and all them other folks who are news broadcasters who are now leading the Department of War because they would just do as they're told. This is where we are, right? And so every morning we get up, we're like, oh, well, I'm gonna, Alexandra, you might want to figure out how to feed that cat other than that chewy order, because those are the things that will be considered a luxury, right? These are the things that we have to literally go back and research the countries where people are living with little and nothing, right? What does that look like? How do you navigate and negotiate? Because many, many people are going to die, right? So this is what I'm talking about when I say make your plan. Figure out what you want to do. Don't come and advertise it to everybody. Don't say anything about anything. Just do what you're supposed to do. And if your family members don't want to listen, they start to come knocking on your door trying to figure out how they can get in because they don't have gas, they don't have water, they don't have food. Make a plan for them too, if you can, wherever you can. But the time for sitting around going, well, I'm going on vacation in 3. One woman said, oh my God, that's what made me put up the post yesterday. One woman said, well, is the waters going to be open by next week because I have a cruise coming through the Caribbean and I don't want to lose my money? Baby, cognitive dissonance at its finest, right?
I
That's what you
I
doing. That was
understand, ma'am. Ma'am, I understand because I'm flying to a place for a party. But but I know where we live. I know what the world looks like today.
Mhm,
I see what's happening. I am
mhm,
not confused.
mhm,
Um, I want all of us to see what's happening and not be confused. I want us to walk around with our eyes wide open instead of eyes wide shut. And I want us to pretend for a moment that we are big boys and big girls, adults, who can handle ugly information and prepare
mhm,
ourselves for what it means to be uglier. So read what did
mhm,
type into your WhatsApp, Chat GPT, whatever it is that you got
mhm,
going on. What did
mhm.
people do to survive Nazi Germany?
Yes.
Use that
Yes.
playbook. Ask ChatGPT to put Nazi Germany and Project 2025 into the same brief and ask it
Mhm,
for a survival guide.
mhm.
Let it know your demographics. Who are you?
Do you think the average person is going to do that though? Because that requires
I'm
sitting still for
telling
more
you.
than 5 damn minutes.
I'm telling you. Go do it. I told y'all how much money to go trade into gold. Did you do it? I
Mhm,
told y'all what to do about your bank accounts. Consolidate and get rid of the ones you didn't need. This any other. Put that money at home. Did you do it? I told y'all that what time. I told you what month this stuff was going to start popping off. Did you listen? Well,
mhm.
here we are today.
Yep.
And
And you
so
know
today I'm telling you,
let me tell you what's even
get
more
that briefing.
frightening. Listen to this. Marguerite says the 250 celebration this summer will not be the joy you think it will be. I believe the stuff that's getting ready to happen this summer is going to pop off right here. Right here.
Let me tell you, I'm trying to think in my knowings what I can say.
Listen. So everybody's saying, oh, we're going to have lots of money. The people are coming in, blah, 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 blah. When the hell hits, right here.
If I were an international power who wanted to make an impact on America, I would hit it at the place of its birth, particularly in July, perhaps on the 4th, when I knew that all international eyes were on this great place. What I say to you from a chess playing stand of is that that would be a catastrophic move. What I believe is true, however, is that the President of the United States is so flimsy in the way in which he behaves and lets out statements and speaks that I don't know that war would wait until the 4th
Until
of July.
July. There you go.
So,
There you
what
go.
may save Philadelphia is the fact that, and save Philadelphia means from a direct impact. Did you find that recording of Xi Jinping that I sent you? Because I think it's important for the people to hear
No,
that
when did you
recording.
send it? Oh yeah, 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 yeah. No, I
It's
didn't.
in
I
your
saw.
text messages.
All right, let
Oh,
me look. Let
it
me
drove me
look.
nuts.
Let me look. Let me look. Let me look. It's in my text messages. Did you send it
Yes.
before the thing about
I
Epstein
sent
file?
it to no after. So it should be very recent in your messaging. Actually, it might be on your Instagram. There we are. And
Oh
I can
my.
actually pull it up again.
And send it to me, please.
and
Yes, send it to
resent
me.
it. Yes.
Uh, Joanne quote. Joanne says, Bible quote: "The naive inherit foolishness; the sensible are crowned with knowledge." And there are folks who are angry with me because I keep saying, "Read the room," and understand that the way you've done business in terms of the particular travel, you've got to be more mindful. I know that's the way you earn your bread and butter, but we're talking about the lives of people here. Folks are just in this space, and it's only like, did you resend it to me? Okay, let me.
You have it now in your
I do,
box.
yes.
China will not fire the first shot, but China will not allow you to fire the second shot. China will never allow the United States to launch a war against China, conventional or nuclear, without suffering devastating consequences. If you have not watched the Victory Day parade in Beijing on September the 3rd, one of the weapons China demonstrated, we call it 61 because it can contain 60 nuclear warheads plus one hydrogen bomb. Now, in the world of today, let me tell you, which country has hydrogen bomb? China is the only country with hydrogen bomb. And that ICBM can cover every corner of the world in less than 20 minutes and destroy any target in any corner of the world without any possibility of being intercepted. I hope Washington has learned the lesson. If you want to have war, you will get war. If you want to destroy China, you will be destroyed. If you want to impose nuclear war on China, you will be wiped out by nuclear war. This is very serious. China's
There are 50 states in the United States of America. There are 60 missiles and one bomb. Where are they going to send those to? This is not a game. Xi Jinping is not a game. It's very clear. It's very, very clear. I ask people to sober themselves.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Hear that.
The president of Venezuela is supposed to be in court this morning. Do you think it's a coinky dinky that he was sent to New York to face charges?
Not at all. Not at all. Well, the international courts are in New York and in America, the United Nations, X, Y, and Z. It's not a coincidence that they want to shine a light on Mandami and what's going on. Suddenly, let's make a mess out of this. But I need us to hear Xi Jinping, who spoke in English,
Mm-hmm.
not a translator, right? That wasn't a message in
Mm-hmm.
Chinese that was then translated to other languages.
Yes.
That was a message delivered to the United States of America in
Mm-hmm.
English, which explained step by step the consequences of the actions that we are taking.
Mm-hmm.
I want us to understand that an ally of China is the sovereign nation of Venezuela. I want us to understand that China purchased billions of dollars of oil, which has been stolen now by the United States of America. I want us to spend Monday in sobriety over international affairs and what that means for us today.
Laverne says, listening to this is like watching a scary movie. I honestly rather not know. Pray, prepare for struggle, but sit, watch, worry, and wait. I can't. It feels toxic and unhealthy. So,
That is the state of our union.
Laverne.
And I think as adults, what we have to recognize is that that is where you are existing. And ignoring where you exist is only more fatal. It's like saying, I know I have cancer, but I'm just not going to get off the couch to figure out what to do about that.
Yeah.
I know I have cancer. I know it's terminal, but I'm not going to speak to anyone in my family and let them know I'm dying. It's a choice.
It
It
is
is
a choice.
yours.
It is
May not be.
absolutely. Absolutely. And
It is a
we
choice.
don't want you to live in a fatalistic way, but to prepare. You're given this information so that you are not making decisions based on what's happening in the moment, but knowing the history of what's happening and coming together. All of this coming together with these countries. I don't think anybody's screwing with China. I'm telling you right now. I believe that there is probably some conversation with China. Well, let's see. Let's see, because you know there's conversation now that China was a part of all of this with Venezuela. They want Venezuela. You don't run from it, Laverne. You don't run from it. You prepare for it. You prepare for it. There's no running from it.
You brace.
You embrace for it, right? Because there's upheaval all around the world right now. You heard me say, I don't know if you were on earlier this morning when I said Jamaica. Our prime minister is a part of some of this madness. All for power and wealth, et cetera, et cetera. And nobody, what I keep hearing is, well, they're all corrupt. Wait, what? China has completely taken over the island of Jamaica, and the people are fighting back. But what no one talks about is that the thing that folks who are at the top fear the most is that people are aware and then start to turn, because there's more of us than there are of them. That's the part, right? And so part of it, Joseph Simmons says, fear or fight, fight. The part of this is that we stay ignorant. Part of it is that we just continue to live our lives like all is well, all is well. And then you wake up one day and you're like, wait, what's happening? What's happening? What's happening? We are just telling you. So she says, I know to be aware and prepare, absolutely, but it's easy to worry and panic in the midst. Yes, absolutely. You can feel panicky. There will be moments when you'll feel panicked. Yes, that's true. But you pick your tribe. You're here every day. We're talking to you every day. You know the things that we're doing. We don't just talk about this. We talk about all of the things that we have to do. How do we come together to give each other food? How do we come together for the healthcare system? How do we come together? We're talking about the things that happen with us in our daily lives, but we also want to be prepared about what's happening around us globally, so that as things continue to
The first
happen,
thing one must do is always say, yeah, one must always first say, what is it? What is the thing at hand?
yes,
And then we address what is the thing at hand with solutions. And when we don't have solutions, with conversation,
right.
um,
And we've been giving
thought
you the
process.
solutions. We have
Um,
the best way we
well,
know
we've
how.
been giving you the lifeboats. These are the lifeboats. These are the historic lifeboats. The ship will sink. Titanic sank, right? And so you can choose to go back to your bedroom, get in bed, and say, well, it's an unsinkable ship. You can choose to put on your lifeboat and safety mask and go up to the deck and have a drink. You could choose to stand by a lifeboat, making sure that you were the first one in. If you're a man, you can put on a gown and a lipstick and get your butt in the boat, and because you know it was women and children first. We are giving you all of the historic facts of the sinking of the Titanic so that you understand that when the Titanic sinks again, you have some options about where you should be. We cannot predict the future. I can't predict the future.
None
I
of
can
us
tell you
can.
what I know to be true,
Mhm,
and I can tell you what happens when what I know to be true happens.
mhm, mhm,
And so, historically, that is based on deep research, deep
mhm,
conversation and thought, lots of connections. Andrea and I spent a great amount of time on the phone with people in positions that we cannot talk about.
yeah.
We receive lots of intelligence and information constantly. And sometimes we'll call each other and say, "You got that too." And so
Or
when
the
we,
text will be, it's here. It's here.
it's here. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We spoke about this. And so I want you to know that this is not a conversation we get up and we have this ponderance of thought live on the air. No, no, no. No. We have already asked ourselves what is important to say to this audience. This audience particularly, and let me tell you why this audience, because this is an audience which is generally not spoken to. This is an audience which doesn't get to hear reality and or truth, or is often the
Right.
last people to be told that lifeboats exist on a ship.
Mhm,
And so we have been dedicated to making sure that this audience gets the same information, if not the information beforehand, that other people get. We are careful about the way that we present that, often as speculation. That's legally sound.
sound, yes.
But it's not that we're coming off the cuff with random ideas. We do a lot of work and a lot of research throughout the week um, before we let you know what it is that we think is really important for you to know. So when we speak to you about what to do with your finances, how to move in spaces of metal currency, what to do about protecting your home and environment, how to exist with cans of X, Y, and Z, it's because there's something that we can't tell you that we have either heard or experienced that we know the solution to that problem is the can of soup. And so we're saying to get the can of soup. And just because we haven't told you why you must have the can of soup doesn't mean your butt doesn't get to the grocery store to get that can of soup. And so I think that that is where we are coming from, is from this place and space of wanting you to be informed so that you can make the best decisions for your existence possible. And also a duty that feels like if we did not inform you what we heard and or knew, that we would be the problem. And so with that, good morning Monday. This is the State of Your Union.
What is the state of your union? David, thank you so much. Thank you. It's
I
all I
look
can
forward to
say.
the days where we can giggle and where
Girl.
we can tell that pastor whose wife wore that dress that it was incorrect. I said it. It was wrong. It was wrong. And I'm gonna end on this happier note because this
Mhm.
is easier and lighter for y'all. It was wrong. Let me tell you why it was wrong. You are a pastor who told us that you went out and purchased that gown for your wife to wear, and it had the illusion of nakedness. Well, first of all, when you out here buying things for your wife to wear with the illusion of nakedness, you're wrong.
What are
Second of
you
all, let's
saying?
not just talk about the illusion of nakedness. Let's talk about the fact that that gown was modeled on lingerie, of a corseted lingerie attached to a ball gown skirt, upon which all of the lace pointed and circled around that woman's vagina. I'm going to say it because other people are pretending that they didn't see that. They didn't see how every string and everything moved you right into one location on the dress, which gave you the illusion of nakedness. Now, I'm going to let you know, hallelujah, that Timothy is very clear. If we want to say it's not biblical, oh, it's biblical. In the Bible, Timothy speaks to the modesty that we are supposed to expect of our people, and that we are in the world, not of the world. And if you want to ask all Abrahamic beliefs and or other religions that circle around this principle of monotheistic one God, they all ascribe to a version of modesty for people. Now, when we come to an event as the pastor, the spiritual leader of a group of people based upon the foundations of a biblical word, and we bring our wife into a room dressed as though she were naked, we've said everything we need to say. So thank you, sir, for your thoughts and for your defense of going out to buy this gown. But you look silly. Ma'am, I don't know you, never met you, probably won't. But the next time your husband asks you to put on some dumb stuff, I want you to turn to him and say, you really want me out in the world looking naked? Why would you want me to go outside inspiring other people to look at me in a way that would be unbecoming of my rank as a pastor's wife? Why would you want other men to lust for me out at this award show? Why would you want me to have the illusion of nakedness? And with that,
and
I say
and and we
amen.
are debating,
Amen.
men versus women, ownership, all of it. I refuse to touch it. So I thank you for your sermon on this here morning.
Listen, I just
I
thought that
had to
was a
say,
lighter note.
yeah, that was a
I
lighter
said
note.
it.
My sisters jumped in, and I was like, listen, y'all go ahead. I have my thoughts and opinions just based on when someone shows you who they are, believe them, right? When he was
Would you
married
do it?
to
Would you go
Giselle,
outside if
same
would your
thing.
husband told you to do that?
Giselle, his first wife, had on something very similar when she was with him. It's his predilections. So, but we're over here,
What was that rap artist who did that? What was the man's name?
Kanye.
Was it Kanye West
Yeah, his wife was damn
who
naked.
had
I
his
like
had his
that.
girlfriend out there on every red carpet naked?
So
And so
we,
what I said was young men and young women as a lesson. Think what would make you want to present
Mhm,
the thing which you love, that you cherish, that you're supposed to protect,
mhm.
in
Come on.
any way that would inspire somebody else to want them more.
I love you, David. You
Amen.
I think that just went over a whole bunch of
Happy
people's
Monday,
heads,
y'all.
but it's okay. Amen. And pass the collection platers. as Alexandra says, child. Again, it's a distraction. For me, I felt like it was a thing to do, knowing that it would get all these people in an uproar. It would bring more attention to him and his church, blah, 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 blah. And my God, we saw so little bit about what's going on around the world and everything about this damn dress. If I see this dress one more time, I'm just going to throw a pitchfork at somebody.
One more time.
But again, it's all about
the power
of nakedness, right? We allowed him to build. We allowed him to build his brand, his spotlight just based on this stuff, and then he did a whole sermon around it, and everybody was like, "Yes, hallelujah!" I said, "Jesus, can we wake up? Can we leave this alone?" If we ignored his behind when he pulled this foolishness, maybe he wouldn't have been tempted to use his wife as this.
We tried.
He tried it. He absolutely tried.
Well, there we go.
I was like, I'm not going to live with him. Not on
he
today.
Succeeded.
And we've seen him. Someone said, we just. It is what it is, right? And in
good news, we haven't talked about this because we've been gone, and I want the people of Philadelphia to know this: that your mayor gave a State of the Union address, the State of our City address, and the focus
I saw
was
you being
housing.
pulled into a picture with her.
And I want to applaud the focus of housing. Housing. It is so important. Housing. You want something to clap out today? We are focused on housing, amen. That's where we need to be, where people who are street homeless and unhoused and walking around here have somewhere to go in the frigid temperatures, that people like you and I who are trying to make sure that we're staying in our house, and I use that in conjecture, all of us. But those that people are kept in their homes, that they're repaired. I want us to give a hand clap to the administration for focusing on housing. I found that to be one of the most remarkable addresses yet, to focus on the actual needs of people at the base level of humanities. And that is their food, their shelter, their clothing, their survival. So often we speak above the board about what we're doing to create big business, what we're doing to create celebration joy, how we're working on economy and on dynastic plan for the future of our city in the next 450 years. And we skip over the really intrinsically important thing called your survival. And so I just cannot move on from today, as we will very soon, until I acknowledge that there was a there.
Yeah, boy, you spend so much time in City Hall talking about housing. Yes, I agree. I absolutely agree. Congratulations to the Parker administration. I know you were there every Thursday for months. And actually, it felt like it came from nowhere, but I know it was a buildup of, you kept coming, kept talking about it. City council members kept talking about it. The mayor herself had been working on it. Quietly and not so quietly. So to hear that they were literally plucking people from the streets and putting them in a space where they could be warm and comfortable and not die in these frigid temperatures is to absolutely be applauded. So we will take that good news on up out of here. Thank you, my brother. Always a pleasure. This show is getting longer and longer, but we're going to be all right. We're going to be all right.
Listen, all is well.
All is well. Have a good one, my brother. Happy Monday. Happy New Year. I'll see you soon. God willing, and the creek don't rise.
Happy Monday.
All right. Bye-bye. All right, my darlings. This episode, here we are. David's getting ready to walk off. This episode of Mornings with Marvel is officially over. Happy New Year to all of you. We hope that you can continue to come and join us. Please hit the like or subscribe button. Hit the like or subscribe button each time you come on here. We have a bunch of guests that are ready and waiting for me to address some issues that are going on locally in the city and nationally. And as they come on, I'll make you aware. I'll post their pictures, etc. But thank you so much, and thank you again for all the birthday wishes. This episode of Mornings with Mo is officially over. I am Andrea Lawful Sanders. I'll see you when I see you. Bye, everybody.